It is the Doomsday Podcast, live from Cowboy Stadium. Well, when you watch it, it won't be live, but we're live right now.
Barely live. We're barely live.
Plausibly live. And we are in the beautiful suite provided to us by the Nation family. Jim and Sally Nation always love being up here in the silver level. And good to be with you as Cowboys win another one on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. 31-28. And Ed, this team, just when you thought it was over, they will not die. And what a stretch it's been. 3 wins now, 6-5-1. The Chiefs now fall to 6-6. And, you know, now Jerry is sort of dreaming of the playoffs. And Ed, as you can share with us, the percentages continue to kind of ease up a little bit in a nice upward trend.
Gone from 9% last week after they beat the Eagles to 17% as they head into next week's game against Detroit. Dak Prescott had his league-leading fourth 300-yard passing game, puts Dallas over 500 for the first time in more than a calendar year. And as you said, 3-game winning streak, beating the 2 teams most recently in the Super Bowl, the Eagles and Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs. They're the first team in NFL history to beat both of the previous season's Super Bowl teams in a span of 5 days. They've scored 30 or more points in all 4 of their home games this season after not doing it even once last year. And I think on the other side of our first break, we should talk about Dak Prescott and this group of receivers and just how dominant they were today.
Yeah, and after, of course, CeeDee Lamb took some more heat for more drops that wasn't happening today. And both Lamb and Pickens continue to shine. And Jerry.
And Ryan Flournoy had some big plays too. And Kevontae Turpin made a big recovery of a fumble.
Huge.
Inside the 20-yard line that kept the drive alive.
That could have changed everything. They only had a 7-point lead at that point. And then that allowed the Cowboys to preserve the opportunity to kick the field goal to go up at the time by 10 points.
And they have a legitimate defense.
Yeah.
Like a defense that can actually play. They give up 4 touchdown passes to Patrick Mahomes. But, hey, the Chiefs scored on their first 2 possessions, one off a Dak Prescott interception when he was hit as he threw. But what did I tell you the record was? I think in Mahomes' starts in his career, 14-1 the Chiefs are when they score a touchdown on their first 2 possessions. So that tells you the Cowboys played pretty good defense thereafter.
Yeah, 12-1, I think you told me.
Oh, 12-1.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, the Cowboys find a way. We'd like at this point to
I'm not impressed with 12-1. 14-1. That's up.
It's better, but I want to be accurate. The Z-Man back with us after his early Thanksgiving. He had the real Thanksgiving.
The man had the longest Thanksgiving holiday in human history.
He's always working though. It's great to have him back. Z-Man, please play the music. All right, Ed, let's start right in what you were just talking about.
Okay.
And I didn't want to say, by the way, Stretch, who's a big part of the Doomsday Podcast, has an illness in his family, and we're praying for that family member, and we'll welcome Stretch back when he's ready to go, and hopefully that'll be as soon as next Thursday night as Cowboys get ready to take on Detroit. It's like, Ed, the league with these Thursday night games finally figured out how to punish the Cowboys for all these years of everybody thinking they had a huge advantage on the Thanksgiving game, right? And they're like, hey, let's make the Cowboys play the Thursday after the Thanksgiving.
That's what the Cowboys wanted to do. If they were going to play a Thursday night game, as is required of most teams, they wanted to play it after they played on Thanksgiving, so they had a full normal week to prepare for that next game.
Yeah,
so
fair. Yeah.
They're going to get their mini bye after the Detroit game.
Correct.
So it's not like they don't get it; they just get it a week later than they otherwise would have. But to me, the challenge, and all 3 of the games on Thanksgiving were divisional games, with the exception of the Cowboys and Chiefs, who were playing for the first time on Thanksgiving Day since 1995, when Brian Schottenheimer's father was coaching the Chiefs.
Marty.
Yeah, Marty Schottenheimer coached the Chiefs for 10 years, won 101 games. And so this was a big moment for Brian, I think, to be playing as the team where his father, gained so much credibility and had such enormous success turning around the Chiefs franchise. But the Chiefs, to me, were the team that was most up against it because they had to play a short week, game on the road, virtually no practice against an unfamiliar opponent. Now, the Cowboys had all that too, except they're playing at home, which is a huge advantage. And so
you hear the Chiefs fans in this play.
Yeah, right. But
yeah,
still, I think the overwhelming number were really Cowboys fans. But let's put it this way: I think this defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, is one of the most accomplished coordinators in the history of football. I mean, he's won Super Bowl rings with the Giants and with the Chiefs. He's like as good as there is. And the Cowboys talked all week about how he disguises things, how he comes up with, things that surprise a quarterback at just the right moment at a key juncture in a game. But what the Cowboys passing game accomplished against Spagnuolo's defense is really unusual. This was Dak's third straight game with 200 yards passing to his wide receivers. That's the longest streak by any player this season. The Chiefs allowed 262 yards to Dallas wide receivers. That's the third most in a game under Steve Spagnuolo, who's been there since 2019, and the most since Week 17 of the 2021 season when the Bengals had 364. And the Chiefs also allowed a season-high 9 third-down conversions, and that tied for the second most in a regular season game under Steve Spagnuolo. So the Cowboys really dominated with their passing game with Dak Prescott and their two outside receivers, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, as you said, coming off a bad game. Still, leads the NFL in drops by 2, but vowed it would not happen again. And he did not drop a ball again. Pickens dropped the ball, but CeeDee Lamb did not drop a ball, made a very difficult touchdown catch over Trent McDuffie, who's the Chiefs' best cover corner. And the Chiefs had over 100 yards in penalties, and a lot of them were on McDuffie committing pass interference against Lamb. So in addition to the 262 receiving yards, they had a bunch of penalty yards and first downs on top of that.
Yeah, and one huge play in this game, Dak scrambled and found Javonte Williams on a touchdown pass, and then another one.
That was a go-ahead score, right?
Yes, and another one, I mean, he had to extend the play. We don't think of Dak anymore being that nimble, yet he can get away and get outside the pocket. The big 2-point, that ended up being it was a really big play.
Pickens tiptoeing at the pylon and make the
Pickens over at the top. And Pickens, we talked about it last week, but the yak continues to pile up. And when they need Pickens, like on a third down play, and even if he catches it 2 or 3 yards short of the sticks, he finds a way. And then, of course, he had that crazy leap that he did. I mean, I think what's happened is not only has he become one of the best receivers in the NFL, but he's like one of the most electrifying. And he's one of the best yards after catch guys. I mean, I think if we look at the yak numbers compared to most receivers in the NFL, I think he'd have to be up there very high. And he had another one of those huge plays. And again, he's physically imposing. He doesn't mind running over people too.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things when the Cowboys talk about Pickens exceeding their expectations when they traded for him from the Steelers in the offseason. It's more than just, hey, he's proven he could be a number one receiver and he can play all these different positions. We'd never seen him do that before. But one of the things the offensive coordinator, Clayton Adams, mentioned earlier in the year was you just don't expect the yards after the catch from a guy who's as big as he is, who's built like he is. You just don't expect it. But he's a very explosive player, great acceleration. I mean, you saw him. I mean, he gets half a step, creates any kind of hesitation with the defensive back, and he's down the sideline on you. I mean, we just got so accustomed to seeing him make, contested catches on the boundary for the Steelers that a lot of people thought that's all he was capable of doing. He's much better than that, and Jerry's going to realize that when he has to write that check.
Yeah, or they franchise him for $28 million.
Well, that's going to happen before they write the check.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll see. They could always get something done.
Yeah, that's what they do. They're very proactive.
Yeah, well, he's got a great relationship with the agent, so that should be fine. You know, it was funny. Sometimes Ed and I conquer and divide and conquer. Sometimes we'll kind of jockey in there and talk to Jerry, both of us, and everything. And one thing, Jerry was quick to. Came out with a turkey leg, always the showman. And
I've never seen him do that before.
He just came out, and I asked him, I was like, "Did you take a bite out of that, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, I took a bite. It's pretty good." I guess one of the players handed him a turkey leg because they ran in with all that stuff that they'd been given on CBS.
Right.
And
Dak had it, Pickens had it, CD had it. I don't think Javonte got any.
Jerry is starting to dream about the playoffs, and I think
he should have put a better roster together at the beginning of the year.
Yes, but again, he views it as he's
saved the day.
He saved the day with the trade to get Logan Wilson and certainly.
But the fact that we're not sitting here talking about how Micah Parsons destroyed the Lions today,
is a good thing.
And we're able to talk about the Cowboys having a having a victory and withstanding 4 touchdown passes by the great Patrick Mahomes, 2 of which came on 4th down. First time in his career he's ever done that. That's saying something that the Cowboys beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and that they did it after they beat the Eagles. Maybe those teams aren't Super Bowl teams this year, but those are the 2 standards when it comes to winning in the NFL right now. I mean, those 2 teams have been to how many Super Bowls? The Chiefs have been to 5, and the Eagles have been to at least 2. They won 2.
3.
So I think they've
2.
I think they've won 5 Super Bowls between the 2 of them. So that's the standard. Those are the best winning organizations in football. And as I said, in a historic fashion, the Cowboys beat them both at home here in 5 days to keep their long shot playoff hopes alive.
I think what you're saying is the Cowboys are the best team in football right now.
And you've won Quentin Williams, who's, I think, largely responsible for turning this around, and the reason Jerry's light on his feet these days in believing that he has transformed this team as a general manager, because he did trade for Pickens, and he did acquire Kenny Clark, and he did acquire Quentin Williams. But Quentin Williams said in the locker room, I went and talked to him, and he said, I think, in all my years with the Jets, I think this is the first time I've won 3 games in a row in my career. He was being serious.
And he's 27. He's been around for a little bit, hadn't he, to have that situation. Yeah. Oh, man, he had to come to the Cowboys. This is one of the winningest teams in the NFL, obviously. But Cowboys get it done, 31-28. And Ed, one of the big – I was going to say also about Jerry, and I have all this recorded. Who knows? We may use a little bit of it. But Jerry was very excited about getting the Preston Road Trophy into the house.
That is a beautiful thing, by the way.
Have you seen it?
I have seen it.
The Preston Road Trophy.
It's an eyesore.
Was Lamar Hunt came up with this, and apparently he used to put it in his window to taunt Jerry.
Who was his neighbor in Highland Park.
Yes. So they're both live on Preston Road, or Preston Road runs between them. And so it's Preston Road Trophy. And Lamar Hunt, I think, has had it recently. Apparently, they don't do real well at getting it back to the other one quickly when they lose or win. But Jerry's going to get it, and he said he might put it in the window like the Hunts have done in the past.
Nobody's going to see it. Jerry lives in a walled compound. Lamar Hunt passed away, sadly.
You'd have to break into Jerry's to really get a look at it. But
I don't think Clark's going to see it driving to work.
Clark drives to work and he flies to Kansas City to work. But
if you want to know the difference between these ownership groups, Jerry's got his own private plane, he's got his own private bus, he's got his own yacht. Well, I covered a lot of Chiefs games, and there were several times when I would be on my American Airlines flight to Kansas City, and I'd get upgraded. I'd be sitting in first class, and Lamar and his wife Norma would come on the plane and walk right past me and go sit and coach the owners of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, man.
It's a man who minded his money.
Yeah, and Lamar Hunt hatched when he was trying to buy an NFL team and they wouldn't let him, and it was maybe even goes back to before Pete Rozelle, whoever the commissioner was, and he could not get his hands on one, and he sat down one day and he came up with the whole AFL. He basically wrote a whole plan for it, and of course, then the
rival league,
would happen eventually. But that was Lamar Hunt and the Hunt family longtime Dallas family, and that's really the only Super Bowls Dallas sniffs right now are via the Hunt family. But good to have Cowboys 6-5-1, 17% chance now of getting into the playoffs. Now, to me, the Chiefs still have a better chance because the way the AFC is shaping up right now. There are kind of too many pretty good teams in the NFC. Cowboys would really have to almost run the table to make this happen, but dare to dream. And now they go against a Detroit team that was, I believe, 7-4 coming into today's game and lost today to the Packers. And I believe that gets them to 7-5.
The 30 Packers 31, Lions 24. First time the Packers have swept the Lions with Dan Campbell as the Detroit coach. And so Detroit's lost 4 of their last 7 games for the first time since 2022. They've lost their, exceptional tight end, Sam Laporta, so vital to them in the red zone. They've lost him for the season. And today, Amon-Ra St. Brown, their best receiver, got rolled up on, suffered an ankle injury. Campbell said it's not a long-term injury, but he could miss a week or two, which means the Cowboys could benefit and not have to face Amon-Ra St. Brown next week in Detroit.
Oh, wow.
And the thing in that game now, and I asked Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark has obviously spent his whole career till he got traded in the Micah Parsons deal here, had spent his whole career in Green Bay and in the NFC North, so played the Lions twice a year. And he said, I asked him, what are the essential defensive elements that you have to succeed at to beat the Lions? And he said, well, the first thing is Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, that guy's the fastest player in football. You can't give him a single sliver of grass or he'll score on you. So that's the first thing. And then he agreed that the next most important thing is creating pressure on Jared Goff. If you look at Jared Goff's passing numbers, he's exceptional, one of the best in football when he's not pressured. When he's pressured, it's the biggest QBR drop in all of football. He dropped to like a QBR of 8, and he has no touchdowns and 3 interceptions going into today's game. So, and Micah Parsons had a great game against him today. Had like 10 pressures and 2.5 sacks.
I didn't know he was good.
Micah, no, he sucks against the run.
Bad against the run.
You can't really, like, as great a pass rusher he is, you just can't win with him because he's such a liability against the run. So you just can't have a guy like that.
So glad he's gone.
Yeah.
The Cowboys on defense, you've got Siobhan Ravel. His snaps were way up. He made his first start with the Cowboys. He's an imposing-looking cornerback. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he made some pretty good plays. Overshown was kind of off his snap count today. He played more. He had moments. They gashed the Cowboys in the run a couple times. You mentioned some of those jet sweeps and things that they do. Those really
speed in the misdirection.
Yeah,
the creativity of Andy Reid, I think, gave him a lot of trouble on defense early in the game.
Absolutely, but it was interesting because it looked like a total shootout. It looked like the Cowboys might be in trouble. Dak gets pressured, throws an interception. They go up 7-0. They're quickly, Cowboys get back in it, but they're up 14-7 at one point. And then after those 2 quick touchdowns by the Chiefs, Cowboys go 4 straight drives that they force a punt. We're so conditioned to, if the Chiefs or anybody in the past gets on a big run, even the Giants were in here earlier this year. Cowboys were very fortunate to win that game the way they did. We're used to seeing teams be able to do that really throughout the game. And the Cowboys somehow kind of got a foothold in that game. Maybe it's because of these reinforcements. Jadeveon Clowney, who was a reinforcement a few weeks before they did the Quinnen Williams trade, has really played well for the Cowboys. Ends up with 2 sacks today. And at a time when Mahomes ran for a lot today, he had 3 carries, I believe, for 30 yards. He was scrambling very well, moving as well as we've seen him move in a while. And yet Clowney ran him down a couple of times.
It was like an 11-second sack or something on the sideline where the officials initially threw a flag on the Cowboys for roughing Mahomes.
Seemed like that's what they're going to do.
Then they round up. He was clearly inbounds, and he was clearly still in possession of the ball, and they reviewed it, and they not only picked up the penalty flag as they should have, but they marked him as down because his knee touched the ground before he released the ball, and Clowney got that sack, I believe.
Okay, that makes sense now because, this replay assist is nice, isn't it? Because it kind of today I was like, why is this game going so long? But they had a very long halftime, right?
Yeah. Post Malone.
Yeah, like 18, 20 minutes, something like that. Oh, by the way, speaking of post, you were doing, after we do Jerry, I have to hustle up to secure our suite where we do our luxury suite where we do our show. And getting off the elevator was Post Malone and all his bodyguards and everything. And they were keeping a close eye on us to make sure. But he was just as kind and kind of. I said, "Hey, good performance today," to Post, and he's like, "Hey, man, thank you." And we had a nice little moment there. And when we dapped up, I noticed he had a lot of tattoo stuff on his.
There's a lot of tattoos everywhere.
Knuckle, face, and everything. But he looks. I don't know. To me, he's one of the more clean cut looking, guys with tattoos all over his face that I've seen. But he seemed fun to, and he had a good performance today. So. Good win all the way around. Anything else on defense we need to Deron Bland did leave the game briefly with an injury.
His foot, which is always troubling because he's missed a lot of time with foot injuries the last 2 years, but he was able to finish the game, and I watched him run by me in the locker room after the game and didn't seem to be limping or anything like that, so he seemed to be okay.
All right, so that was good. And then anybody else on defense we need to brag on? Oh, today it was interesting. Kalen Carson was not active. Tolbert was up. Mingo was down. I'm just thinking of all the people who played today that hadn't played in the past. But they activated a couple of guys. But we probably didn't even say it enough last week. By the way, that play that got so much attention. What was his name? Elijah Clark. Well, that's got a lot of attention this week. But I mean, the Cowboys. Was it Shoddy? It was interesting to this thing back early in this game, Ed, because so much happened. We're not even thinking about early in the game. He went for it, 4th and 4. The Cowboys down 7-0, or were they down 14-7? I think they were down 7-0, and he goes for it at midfield. They get it. This might have been when they cut it to 14-10. I believe they were down 14-7. And Shoddy's kind of interesting because he goes for it on 4th and 4, and then they get down there to about the 30-yard line, and he doesn't go for it on 4th and 3 and takes the 49-yard field goal from there. The field goal, if he didn't go for it from where he was going to be like 65 yards or something. So,
well, you just don't want to give Patrick Mahomes a short field too many times, and they did with the interception early in the game. I thought the other thing that stood out to me was how many times Matt Azaria, the punter for the Chiefs, pinned the Cowboys inside their 10 like 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
And another couple of times they had penalties on special teams and they were started possessions inside their 10. Just horrible field position. They've got to clean up their special teams performance because they got beat in that phase of the game pretty decisively, and it's pretty detrimental to the offense to be expected to have to drive 90 yards for a touchdown as often as they were put in that position today.
And one time Aubrey...
And they don't cover kickoff very well.
They don't do that, but on that one that they allowed a fairly long kickoff return, Aubrey had already kicked one out of bounds. They had 2 penalties on them on that one. They made them re-kick, moved back 5 yards. At some point, will you still explain the kickoff area to me? I still don't have a great...
The landing zone.
The landings.
Well, the other thing, you're talking about Shoddy's aggressiveness, and I mean they were backed up on one of those plays when they threw the 50-yard pass to CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah,
that got him out of jail, and I'm not sure if that possession was the one that led to the touchdown. I think the 2 Pickens plays led to the go-ahead touchdown to Javonte Williams.
That was a huge play.
Yeah, but that was a big play to get him out of that into the field. They might have just kicked the field goal on that possession. But Dak mentioned that, and he mentioned, Shoddy, first-year coach, defense is in complete disarray. They're losing all these games, bad losses to teams, not even competitive some of the time. Marshawn Nealon commits suicide on their bye week, and then they got to go play, against three teams who are led by Super Bowl winning coaches. I mean, the Raiders aren't a good team, but Pete Carroll's won a Super Bowl. Obviously, the Eagles have recently won a Super Bowl with Nick Sirianni. Have won a couple, and Andy Reid's won Super Bowl. So 3 times in a row they've beaten Super Bowl teams with Super Bowl winning head coaches. And Shoddy probably deserves some credit for the leadership that he's demonstrated in some very difficult circumstances and situations, quite honestly, forget a first-year coach having to handle, but most coaches go through their whole careers and never have to deal with something like that.
Correct. And he's done really well with it, and I think he just gains credibility by the week. And it also, when you lose and when you go through kind of bad stretches like they did with the defense, that kind of reveals who you are, and he handled that pretty well. And they've emerged from it, and now they have a chance to do what do we keep talking about? We talked about this 3-game stretch that looked like it was killer, and we were like, they're losing these games. They shouldn't have lost. They put themselves in a hole, and the hardest part of the schedule is about to come. And I think we had basically buried them. And here they come. And I'm going to look at just by.
They sure recognize, I think, how dire the circumstances and how unlikely it is they're going to make the postseason. But I think they're a far more confident team than they've ever been at any point in the season, understandably so. And I said, if they could beat the Eagles, I could see them winning the next 2. And maybe they will. We'll see. The Lions are not going to be easy to beat.
I think if they know, especially because their backs are kind of starting to get against the wall.
Well, the Cowboys can pass them in the standings for a postseason berth, a wild card berth, if they win up there in Detroit.
I believe the Cowboys that Ed has determined via ESPN research that the Cowboys now have a 17% chance.
Up from 9% when the game kicked off today.
Yeah, up from 9. And by me I've had to,
Well, let me say this.
Hold on, though. Okay, go ahead. 9%,
17%. None of it seems likely. But last week, when they played the Eagles, they were at 1% to win the game, and they won the game.
Yes.
So these analytics aren't exact, and they're not always right.
Yes. I have them, if they win against Detroit, I've got them with a 26% chance.
Is this something you just made up, or did you run it through some computers?
The computer right there in my head. Yeah. I thought through several different formulas.
Football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. You'll get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Download the app today. Sign up with promo code Doomsday to score $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code Doomsday. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
All right, so that is the bulk of the Doomsday podcast. Ed, Cowboys now have that chance to go to Detroit. It'll be Thursday. We'll be doing Doomsday. Ed do not wake up early tomorrow morning and look for Ed on WFAA like he normally is. He'll do that Monday, which I honestly think you should get that off too. That seems odd, but whatever. That's fine. You signed the contract, and I'm sure they can point you to where you're supposed to do that. But on Monday, Ed will be on WFAA at 6:30.
If people would like to show up and protest, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sanction it. I'm not going to authorize it.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't drive through either.
Oh, wait. You're not going to have to do it Monday and Friday, are you?
Yes, twice.
Whoa. That's a little much. That's a little much, WFAA. And I will talk to them. I do have friends there at FAA. Man, good to be with you. Ed, any closing thoughts? Any numbers? You had so many numbers. You had so many things. Is there anything in the ESPN stat wagon? Is there anything from our folks? I just want to leave them with like one beautiful nugget that it'll just keep them kind of so excited for Thursday. Is there anything that Dak? It was interesting. Romo was doing the game.
Yeah.
At one point they had one on a split screen today, and they had a picture of Dak or something, and then they put Romo up on the screen on the Jumbotron, and everybody went crazy. So Romo now beloved here as a former Cowboy.
Well, we spent a lot of time. Today was the first time that Dak started a game as the career franchise passing leader, and Romo, the guy he surpassed, was doing the game. So
yeah.
Only with the Cowboys could something like that happen.
Passing of the torch.
In fact, the only two active quarterbacks in the NFL who lead their team in career passing yards are Patrick Mahomes and Dak Prescott. And they also rank first and second in passing yards this year. And obviously Dak prevails in this game. But we spent so much time criticizing CeeDee Lamb that we probably should end with a CeeDee Lamb bounce back stat. And the CeeDee Lamb bounce back stat that I have for you, like it or not, is this was his 13th career game with 100 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown, tying Dez Bryant for the fourth most in Cowboys history.
Wow. Very interesting. And Dez is always on the scene. And that was the case
today. Here today, yeah.
And that's who Jerry, when they were asking, who does George Pickens remind you of, Jerry? Jerry said he kind of reminds me of 88, Dez Bryant. So he brought that up. One last thing, Ed, I was going to share to our audience.
I got one more stat for you, too.
Okay. Jason Witten was a Pro Football Hall of Fame semifinalist, and Darren Woodson also. Darren missed it narrowly the last time, and will hopefully break through at some point. But two great Cowboys players. Like both of them a lot. I know both of them are friends of ours, but I would hope Darren. I mean, they're both very deserving.
He's running out of time to get in the regular selection process. Goes into the senior category, and the senior category you can wait a long time there.
Yeah.
So we'd rather that not happen to Darren Woodson.
Yeah.
And this is Witten's first year of eligibility, so he'll go in the next 5 years, I'm sure.
You would hope.
Yeah.
You would hope that would be the case. Ed?
And that closing statistic now is not on CeeDee Lamb, as it turns out. It's going to be on Dak Prescott, which is where we started this whole thing. Dak Prescott completed 10 of 12. We talked about how well he played against Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Completed 10 of 12 passes under pressure against the Chiefs for 108 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Did not take a sack. He's the first quarterback in the NFL this season with 100 passing yards, 2 or more touchdowns, and no sacks under pressure.
Wow.
So tribute to Dak and his offensive line.
Yeah, that's right. And, they were missing their starting left tackle today. And Nate Thomas was out there starting, and the offensive line did a nice job. And we're a big part of that success and keeping Dak upright. Dak extended plays on his own. But also I heard Brad Sham mention that he wished SportsCenter and all the highlight shows would show people picking up blitzes instead of just constant touchdowns, because I think he was praising Javonte Williams for his blitz pickup.
I'll probably still show Javonte Williams touchdown reception instead. But
yeah.
Point taken.
I would like to watch blitz pickup.
He does a great job of that.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Ed, what a privilege. What a privilege. I mean, we do. Have we missed times with our families? Yes. Do we every once in a while travel on Christmas? Yes.
Just the Aaron Andrews part of the show.
Yeah. But we think of it as an unbelievable privilege, and we have families that are extremely supportive, and it's allowed us to do incredible things. And our families have been a part of some of that. So,
and sometimes they're on a good podcast.
And sometimes on top of it, we'll do a podcast. So great to be with you. We would never complain about our jobs.
I mostly complain when I don't have one,
That's right.
which has been far too often.
No, you've had great stretches of jobs over the years. It is the Doomsday Podcast. We will see you Thursday night after the Cowboys play the Detroit Lions. Thanks, everybody.
We are Rogue Media Sports.